Hello. This is the 126th Test from the Future, an experimental podcast from the year 22-23, which we are sending from our present to yours. My name is Dirk.
And my name is Simon.
And we're putting the past in podcast. And as our listeners know, we usually speak a little bit about the technology that we have in the 23rd century, technology that we think could be exciting for you, the listener. But today we speak about technology that we don't even know if it exists.
Right. Well, exactly. Something rumored, like a myth almost.
Yeah. The thing is called the Amazing Rollertoaster. That's the name of the thing that may not even exist.
Sure. And, okay, our listeners have never heard of that, presumably. From the name, you maybe think it's a device for making toast, but through a rolling mechanism.
Yeah.
That's the name of it. Rumor is actually that it's like the most amazing roller coaster ever.
It's if you've gone on this roller coaster, you'll never want a standard roller coaster anymore.
Exactly.
So that's why it's called the Amazing Rollertoaster, because it's so amazing it needs to be part of the name. But yeah, like we mentioned, it may not even exist. Maybe it's just an urban legend. Maybe it's just made up. And then we thought. We usually do a bit of research before the show, and we put a bit of a twist on it. We will research
here live on exactly. Peek behind the curtain a little bit for our listeners.
Yeah,
they get to hear our process.
Exactly, or research making of. We imagine this can be very exciting. If not, it's a lesson learned
for everyone. Yeah,
but I think before we start, because we didn't do any research yet, we can briefly summarize what we already know.
Yeah.
You want to summarize?
Yes. So the idea is that it's just one roller coaster.
Yeah.
It's not like a series of them or a progression, something like that. And that it's in an area where there are no teleporters and no cams. And, especially the no cams. That's why it's a rumor. That's why no one actually has photographic evidence of it.
And if it actually exists, it would explain that nobody knows that because there are no cams, no teleporters.
Yeah, exactly, no teleporters, so it's presumably difficult to get to.
Yeah, apparently.
What else? Sure, and it's actually meant to be a pretty long roller coaster, like from start to finish, 15 minutes or maybe even more.
It's interesting, like something like that, for something where we don't even know it exists, but if it does exist, a ride takes more than 50 minutes. So that's with these oddly specific pieces of information.
More specific than you would think if it was just something made up.
Yeah.
Is that what you meant? Or were you thinking it's so specific it must be made up?
No, I was thinking so specific that it must actually be real, This is kind of like commonly accepted. The Amazing Rollertoaster takes about 50 minutes, but it may not exist.
Correct. And actually, right, the other thing, maybe it ties into the 15 minutes somehow, but that it's meant to involve cheese and red pepper.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of what like the commonly accepted information is about the Amazing Rollertoaster. And that's it. But the thing is, like, if it may not even exist, where does this oddly specific information come from?
Right.
But if it does exist, it has something to do with cheese and red pepper. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, that's what little we know so far.
So we were thinking, to actually do the research right here on the show, you will just hear a lot of silence. Somebody going to the bathroom.
Oh, that's interesting.
So we will just shortly go on break. Fast forward, and then we'll come back. For the listeners, it will sound like a few seconds. For us, it will have meant massive research.
A huge amount.
Okay, then research countdown. 3, 2, 1,
go.
Research.
We're back.
So we've done a whole bunch of research.
So much.
And we found a whole bunch of more information. And we don't know if any of this is true. But the most interesting things we were going to share with you, the listener.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely much more than we knew before.
Yeah.
May even lead to us finding it. That would be pretty...
Oh, that would be pretty
really
cool,
nice.
yeah. I mean, some of these things, they are, let's say, specific enough that it's like, well, we could try this
Right, it's
out.
worth at least going to... Well, I'm getting ahead of myself, but exactly, they're specific enough that it may be worth actually just checking out.
Want to basically take turns what we found out?
Yeah. So the very first thing, there is a website from Marcy's and Mackenzie's that looks very official.
Yeah.
But it's basically a website where it's a reference for all the different roller coasters around the world. So they have a page for the Amazing Rollertoaster. Okay, all it says is that it doesn't exist.
Yep.
But at least they acknowledge it.
Exactly. It's at least it has gotten enough traction for them to have to say, okay, it is actually a thing, but really it's not. Yeah. Then they're pretty straight about it. So they actually list some of the stuff that we mentioned at the beginning. Right. So they think with the 50
having a bit of fun with it,
and say, but actually no.
Yeah, and they won't sell you tickets to get there or anything like that.
Exactly. But that's the most official thing that we found. But there are a lot of online communities, right? Where people exchange ideas and they say, I want to get on this. I'm sure it exists. And then maybe we'll try this. And they discuss with each other. And there are a lot of these online communities. And what I found, what I started noticing after a while is like, okay, we're going to try this out. And then at one point they stop posting.
Sure. The threads just stop. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They will just say, it doesn't exist. Let's move on.
Yeah.
So they've just kind of given up on the whole thing all of a sudden. And so it feels like a lot of people get excited about this. And then at one point they kind of just suddenly lose interest. Like
Like maybe it's fun to talk about for a while, to speculate about, but then, okay, they move on.
It's like if you dig for a treasure, it's like digging a hole for 50 minutes is nice, but not for weeks.
Sure. No. But especially if you're excited about finding this amazing roller coaster, it's because you enjoy going on roller coasters.
Yeah.
Maybe you enjoy going on them more than you do talking about them.
Exactly. We're trying to find them at one point.
Yeah.
But because of all of these different communities and that there's a lot of these, let's say, dead end threads, there's a lot of speculation about those.
Sure, yeah. And none of them are confirmed, but there are a whole lot of interesting ideas.
Did you see the thing about the moon?
Yep, that one's pretty funny. Like the idea is that the roller coaster itself only appears during the full moon, and that the tracks themselves are made of silver. Which I don't really think there's a correlation there, but it was always mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, it just physically, I can't imagine that having to do with each other, but just from imagination, that kind of feels right. I even heard additionally that you can only get there at midnight at the local time than where it is.
Yeah.
So not just full moon with silver tracks, but only get there at midnight. I'm not sure how does it work. Is it just a second, a minute, an hour?
Sure. What's the time window?
What's midnight? Can you already get in a couple of minutes before midnight?
If you need to queue up, are you queuing up basically in a big queue where there's nothing actually at the end of it? With the promise that at midnight it will appear.
And it's like a door that briefly opens. Can you squeeze in a couple of minutes after, stuff like this? So it sounds possible. It sounds also practically hard to actually implement.
And it could be the kind of thing where, so to get there, maybe you do need to go through a portal at some point, and that portal only makes it possible to get there at midnight.
Yeah, okay. There was a lot of talk about portals in general anyway, right?
Right. The idea that this is a really interesting idea, because we've heard, or as we mentioned before our research break, the idea is that it's this, I presumed at least that it was a massive roller coaster because it takes 15 minutes apparently. But one really interesting idea is that it's actually broken up into many, many smaller sections that go through portals. So in any one place, there would just be a small segment of the track. And then in each, there'll be a portal at either end of that little segment, and it links up to be one ginormous roller coaster that takes 15 minutes.
I can imagine these segments being so small that you don't even recognize them at plain sight, because it's just like a tiny bit of track somewhere not doing anything. It's like, okay, whatever. That can't be the Amazing Rollertoaster, but maybe
it could also be like that little, just relative to the whole thing. It still could be like a few hundred meters long. Maybe it's on top of like a skyscraper somewhere, So like from the ground, you don't even notice it because it's just on the roof of that building, which you can't see from the ground.
Or the other way around, it's somewhere on the ground floor, and once you're hovering up there, you don't notice it down there, somewhere where there's just little traffic.
Exactly. Maybe some segments go through like old abandoned train tunnels, under the ground, so no one's even seeing them because it's all hidden underground.
Or just like, could it even be modern buildings? Just one room that is rented somewhere that nobody actually gets into, and there's like a wow.
Bits going under the sea, you would presume, as well.
Wow, that actually sounds way cooler, because I found there were a few threads that were really convinced that it was high up the mountain somewhere, because it would use gravity basically to circle around the mountain going down. It would be amazing and take so long.
That's where Portal, if it really does use portals, that's where it could get really interesting, because a regular roller coaster, you have the bit where you're ramping up, and then all of a sudden down. But that down part doesn't last so long.
No.
If the whole thing is 15 minutes and it uses portals, there could actually be a section which is like 5 minutes of non-stop falling. That would be an interesting experience.
Or once you get to the bottom of your roller coaster, the portal sends you back up again.
That's what I'm saying. Like the actual, so the physical track doesn't need to be however many kilometers long it needs to be. Because it can loop.
I see what you mean. It might not even need a track. You can just fall for a few minutes and then get picked.
That sounds dangerous.
Yeah, it's true actually. I also read how to get there. It's a lot of different teleporter jumps that you need to make.
Right, so you can't go directly.
Exactly.
There are no teleporters actually at the place,
Yeah, so I don't know how the last bit then would be, but whatever. Or maybe the bit that there are no teleporters isn't actually true, and this rumor is true. But it's kind of how we got to the back canal, remember? We also had to go from one teleporter to another until we got completely dizzy, and we didn't even know anymore where the back canal was.
Yeah.
And apparently it's the same like this, but this route is very specific, and it's kind of spells the name of the ride while going from one place to the other. I'm not sure if that's connecting the dots or whether the first names of the places.
Right, like the first letter of each place's name.
But people were trying all of this out.
There's many different possibilities there,
Yeah.
Another really, if this is true as well, it maybe makes it even harder to find. So the rumor is you need to shrink yourself to fit on the ride. There's no mention of the scale, like how much are you shrinking yourself, just like half height? Okay, then it would still be pretty visible. Are you shrinking yourself to the height of an ant? Because then that roller coaster really could be just the size of like the whole roller coaster. Forget the portal stuff. The whole roller coaster could be like the size of a room, big room, But
true, actually. But it also okay. There's probably going to be a maximum height.
Exactly right. They would have a sign like saying this height or shorter to be able to even get on there.
Okay, cool. That actually works with what I found. I wasn't actually going to mention because I thought it was too weird. But the entrance portal to the place is in a specific mushroom in a secret forest.
Like the portal is within a mushroom.
The portal to get there.
Exactly.
So it basically...
so then to get in the mushroom in the first place, unless it's a really big mushroom, you'd need to shrink yourself down.
Exactly. You need to shrink yourself down, and then the portal is there's basically a door on a mushroom, as far as understood.
Yeah.
A specific mushroom in a secret forest almost sounds like a fairy tale.
This does a little bit.
This is
maybe it's adding to either make up, or maybe it's part of the roller coaster is building this atmosphere, that it's not just literally, whenever mosey on up, go on a roller coaster. It's that you've had this experience getting there.
With this thing, we're summarizing, of course, what we found, right? So in this particular case, it sounds totally weird. The person posting this was pretty convinced that they knew exactly where this was.
They had all kinds of supporting evidence for their idea.
Exactly. So and the secret forest is there, and the mushroom is there in the secret forest, and so on. So they were being very specific. So it just summarizing it like this, it sounds too crazy. And I also thought, not bringing it up, but because you had the shrinking, I thought, that could actually tie in. No. Yeah, those were actually the most interesting things that I found.
Yeah.
There's none where I think that's it. If this exists, that might.
Right, there weren't any. There were ones which were joking a little. But they were just like, here's the address.
Yeah.
Okay. But then people say, I went there and it wasn't there. So
exactly.
And so also, but you had to go there at midnight. So on the full moon, okay, but still people go and it's.
And exactly, and then but only exactly when full moon, and only when you're shrunk, and then they do all of that, and then it's.
It's clear that some people are having fun with other people. leading them on a wild goose chase.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I did get pretty excited about the ride. It's like, especially
the more you read about it. Yeah.
Exactly. The more you read about it, because we're also we're now focused more on where is it and how to get there, but also like it supposedly has this and it supposedly does that, and then you get excited. It sounds like something pretty interesting to try out, And then I think we've
got some time, yeah.
Maybe we try out one thing.
Sounds
just
good.
like live on the show.
Yeah.
We take the recorder, although
we can't. So the recorder, for our listeners, the recorder is the portable one. Unfortunately, I forgot to charge it before we recorded today. Battery won't last long enough.
Yeah, okay. No, especially it needs to stay here. Huh?
Yeah. But we can go check it out. If we find something cool, we can come and go again another time.
Exactly. And then we can just come back saying, okay, never mind. It was fun. Maybe we have bring an anecdote back, but we didn't actually get any roller toaster. And if it is actually the real thing, we will be super excited and we will go again and then take the recorder.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. Good idea. Anything on the list of stuff that we found where you think that's like up in the mountains?
Like I mentioned, there were addresses, and pretty much all of them say no. There was one which mentioned the address of the mushroom.
Yeah.
Should we go check that one out?
Okay. Nobody tried it out in the form,
yet.
so there's
At least no one had written.
Exactly. At least nobody said that's nonsense. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Shall
we do this straight away?
Yeah.
We can leave the recorder running, right?
Exactly. Yeah. They won't hear us when we get back.
Okay.
Bye, people in the past. See you soon.
All right. You can put it in.
Yep.
All right.
We're back.
Okay.
It was a bit of a disappointment.
Yeah. It doesn't exist.
Nope, nothing there at all.
I think it's safe to say. Let's move on.
Yeah. Listener question?
Yeah, we have one, but I think.
But this is a beast.
Yeah, that's a question we got from Casper. It's pretty long, and then I think if we want to answer it properly, it will take even more time.
Yeah.
So I would say we move that to next recording.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, so sorry to our listeners, sorry that we didn't have anything more exciting there. Once we actually went to see or look for the roller toaster, the Amazing Rollertoaster.
Yeah, it was a nice idea, but it doesn't exist.
Yeah. But please still email us at michaellasagna5@gmail.com. Put the number 126 into the subject. And ask us any questions like Casper did here. We will reply at some point.
So, thanks for listening and see you in 200 years.
Bye-bye.